Hello out there, Internet. I hope that I'm coming through here. I'm trying to speak louder, as requested. Are you ready to look at some pretties with me? So, the last set of tailoring books that I showed you were largely drafting books, so the practical side of building things. This pile is much more of the looking at things for research and inspiration and historical information as far as building menswear. This first one is really quite lovely. If you ever wondered, when people say Savile Row, who do they mean? What do they mean? This covers it, more or less. This covers the major players on Savile Row, what they're known for, when and how each of the houses got built, and some of the background behind, if you want a stiffer chested suit, who do you go to? If you want a women's wear suit, who's known for that? Who has the longest history? And that sort of thing. Very, very pretty. So many gorgeous suits in here. If you don't drool by the end of flipping through this book, I don't know what to do for you, man. Like, this is as beautiful as suits can get in a lot of different ways. And it's pretty fabulous. I would highly recommend it for just droolability as well as education if you're running into tailors that if they have experience on Savile Row or are influenced by one design or another, you'll have a better idea of who they're talking about there. Now, this is one of my favorite books. It was also one of my favorite exhibits at LACMA. I went to see it 3 times, once with a friend, once with accidentally a docent at the end, because I got there an hour earlier than I meant to because I thought there would be more traffic than there was, and went through with a docent, and we were geeking out towards each other, and I was pointing out all the things that I loved about the exhibit after having gone through it and heard her spiel about it. And it's really gorgeous, it's really pretty, and it's really, really interesting to see the things in it in person. If you get to go out, if this one starts traveling around, if this gets to V&A or wherever, go see it. It is fantastic to be able to look at the details that don't necessarily end up in the book. I really wish I could have gone and taken all the pictures known to man, just to be able to see like the last vestiges of the extra ease at the back of grand assiette sleeves slowly working their way out, and to a flat armscye in the back, and seeing things like where the seams of tailcoats come from because of swords, and it's really cool. It's really gorgeous. And the book, I mean, it's not in chronological order. Neither is the exhibit, to be fair. It's more in interest order, so like different textures or what it was used for, or revolution as a theme, which drives me bonkers. It really does. But if you're looking at it and you're wanting to see overarching themes and seeing different eras next to each other, it is interesting to see different eras next to each other, and different techniques next to each other, and like the different styles of chests and so forth. It's all pretty. It's so pretty. You want this book. You need this book. This is the most droolable thing. There are so many things in here that I want to build. Oh. Anyway, so, I highly recommend it. It's really gorgeous. It's in full color. It's a nice, size to be able to see details in it. They do tend to give overarching pictures of things, and they do have the numbers in it so they can look stuff up in the online collection as well, so they can see different angles of it. Although, I highly recommend, if you can see it in person, go see it in person. It's so cool. Anyway, so highly recommend it. Not to geek out too strongly there, but it's fantastic. All right. The Fairchild Encyclopedia of Menswear. So, I'm not sure what that particularly was, but if you're unsure as to what is that called, what's the difference between a chalk stripe and a pinstripe, this is great to have around when you're trying to nail down exactly what someone actually wants. It also is good for building your vocabulary and so forth as well. It has some pictures in it. It's also really good for, oh no, I don't remember that designer's name. this is great for that. Like if you are stuck in a Devil Wears Prada sort of situation and you don't know how to spell some of the French and Italian and just out there wonderfully crazy names that are in fashion, this is very useful for that. It's not terribly useful if you're like, okay, so how do I build a welt? No, this is not going to get you there. But if you don't know what a welt is, or it's not that bad of a place to find it. It's also good for just building vocabulary. Now, that being said, like pretty much anything with etymology, words are shared and used and beat up in English. Pretty much anything that's in here it's useful for communication purposes. I'm not a prescriptionist as far as etymology goes, so if you've heard it in other ways, it's very likely. This isn't exhaustive. It's not that big of an encyclopedia either, as you can see. It's decent size considering it's about menswear specifically. So it's as useful as any other encyclopedia in a lot of ways. And I like having it on my shelf for being able to look up different things. You can kind of see where it's gotten some sunspots from being used and sat out on desks and so forth. But yeah, it's a good encyclopedia. Now, as far as pretty pictures and what should I wear and how do I tie that tie and really what are those shoes called? What does this go with that? What do you wear with this? This is not a bad start for this, although honestly, just follow like GQ's YouTube. I would say this is not the most up-to-date thing known to man. I do find it sometimes useful, partially to the pictures, of being able to say like, do you want a blended collar? Do you want this? Do you want that? But it's also in full color so that if someone has a specific color or pattern in mind and they look at it and they're like, oh, that's not the color or pattern that I wanted, it can be deceptive in that. One of the nice things about the line drawings of a lot of the drafting books is that you don't have the preconceived notion of someone else did it like this, therefore. But it does have some pretty pictures in it, and it's not a bad basic book. Alright, this one's weird. I'm sorry, but it is. It's fantastic, though. So I got this one in the LACMA library at also the Raining Men exhibit, and I was like, oh, this will be good reading practice for a minute. I'm, waiting around because I got stupid early to an exhibit, and so I hung out in the bookstore naturally, as anyone would, right? And I saw this and I was like, all right, I'll practice my Japanese and reading it. And it is fascinating seeing the history of Western menswear through a non-Western lens. The conclusions that they come to and the connections that they make are a lot different in a lot of different ways than your average, fashion timeline. Considering it wasn't terribly expensive, if I recall correctly. All right, it was fairly expensive. It was $35, but for being a small magazine. But I really enjoy it. I think it's really interesting. It's fascinating, and I really like it. It's very, very pretty, and it's an interesting look at fashion that I otherwise wouldn't have gotten. I do like the perspective of it, and the pictures in it are really, really interestingly put together, and I enjoy it. It's very fun. So if you're looking for a general overview that isn't from a Western perspective, this is perfect. Well, honestly, if you just want a general overview, it's not bad for that either. Even if you don't read Japanese at all, this is still it's a good starting point of it. It covers a lot of the main bases, I would think, although not as thoroughly as one would otherwise think. Now, if you are an Armani fan, this one's just for the pretties. I mean, let's be honest here. There's a lot of women's wear in this too, but it kind of goes over how the whole soft-chested Italian style came about, and that's arguably Armani's fault, right? Like, there certainly were Italian-style tailors before that, but he really got into the whole deconstructing and making things soft, and how much guts do we actually need this close to the Mediterranean. And it's cool, it's pretty, it's interesting, it's really hefty and giant and thick. This book could kill you. It is weaponized size, but it is a really lovely book, and it gets into the history quite well. And if you have, like, you might have noticed with my other books, I have much more of an English bent to most of my tailoring instructions and books and so forth. So having references, excuse me, that are also in the Italian style is really useful to be like, so, do you want an American suit, an Italian suit, or an English suit? That's one of those questions that you go over and deal with when you are looking at, what kind of guts do you need, what shaping do you need. That does make a big difference. Oftentimes you go to a tailor and you get what they make, as far as how stiff it goes. But being able to be flexible, I think, is very helpful. And I do like the history of it. I think it's interesting. So those are my pretties for today. I hope you found that entertaining and helpful as well, as far as choosing what books to have in your library. And hopefully this was fun, as fun for you as it was for me.